Hello and welcome to Nullitaire Gaming, where we play games with 0 players, or in other words, we play bots against one another. And in this series, we're playing Falling Sky, the Gallic Revolt against Caesar. This is Volume 6 of the Coin series by GMT Games. This game was designed by Andrew and Volko Runke. We've started the game already. If you haven't seen the first video in this series, I recommend beginning there. I'll put a link in the description of this video to the whole playlist, so you can start from the beginning. But we've played the first campaign so far, and we're going to carry on from here. So let's set up the game and continue. Okay, the game is set up back to where we left off. Before moving on, though, I need to make a correction. So this correction was brought up by Dustov in the comments. Dustov has kind of become the unofficial rules analyst for this channel, which I appreciate. Thank you very much, Dustov. But here's the problem. The Belgic tribes rallied in Treveri at one point during the last campaign. And I did not make them pay for that appropriately. So if we look at their rally command, cost is 1 resource per region, but it's 2 if outside Belgica. And this region is outside Belgica. Only these 3 regions here are Belgica. So Treveri should have cost them an extra resource. Fortunately, they did have an extra resource at that point, and they never spent that resource later in the campaign. So we can fix this easily by simply taking away 1 resource from the Belgic tribes. Okay, so that fixes everything that I know of mistakes that I may have made in the last campaign. So let's carry on. So the first card of the new campaign is Druids, and the Aedui are first eligible. All factions are eligible right now. So the Aedui will be first. So following their flow chart, Aedui first on upcoming but not on current card. Well, they're first on this card, so no. By the sequence of play, they may use the event, yes. The event is ineffective or capability in final year or no Aedui. Alright, so we have to take a look at the event now. Let's see if it's effective. Druids. Okay, Arbiters of Celtic Society. Select 1 to 3 Gallic factions in the initiative order above. That initiative order. Each executes a free limited command that may add a free special ability. Become eligible after this card. Okay, well that definitely would be effective. And I don't see the no Aedui symbol. And this is not a capability in the final year, so the answer is no. Okay, they're going to do this event. So the first question we have to answer is this select 1 to 3 Gallic factions. So the Aedui could choose 1 to 3 of these factions to do this. Obviously they're going to want to select themselves, but will they select any of the other Gallic factions to do this as well? Well, the answer is no. If we go to these general priorities for all the bots under event-driven actions, second bullet point here, when there's a choice of who gets event benefit, such as free actions, capabilities, resources, or pieces, non-players select themselves only. If not possible, treat the event as ineffective and select a command instead. Okay, so they select themselves only. So the Aedui are going to do a limited command first. So we do that by just going down their flow chart and finding what their first priority would be. Okay, so first is battle would force loss on enemy leader, ally, citadel, or legion. No, certainly not. The Aedui are in no position to do much of any damage with battling. So no. 0 to 4 Aedui warbands on the map. No, they're more than that. Or rally would place a citadel, ally, or 3 or more pieces. No, that's not true either. Again, this is a limited command, so they can only choose 1 space to do this, and there's no way they could choose a space that would put 3 or more pieces on the map. For one thing, they don't even control any space on the map. Okay, so no. Aedui have 0 to 3 resources and roll 1 to 4. Well, they do have 0 to 3 resources. They have exactly 3. So they rolled on that, and they rolled a 3. So the answer is yes. They would like to raid if it would gain 2 or more resources total. And it would. If we look at raid, they can do this in any region with hidden Aedui. Cost them nothing. And they reveal 1 to 2 hidden Aedui per region. For each, either add 1 resource, not devastated, or take 1 resource from a faction there that has no citadel or fort. All right, so as long as they reveal 2 in a single region, then they will satisfy this requirement. It would gain 2 or more resources total. Okay, so they're going to do this. So first priority is versus players at 0+ victory margin. Well, a couple of things. First of all, raid will only work against a player if they have no citadel or fort. So the places that have Aedui warbands right now, these 2 regions, the enemies there have either a citadel or a fort. The Arverni have a citadel there, the Romans have a fort there. So they couldn't target them anyway. Alright, so they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to do raid in that manner by stealing from others. Also, neither the Arverni nor the Romans are at 0+ victory anyway. The Belgic tribes are the only faction that's beyond its victory margin at this point. Okay, versus other non-Roman enemies. No, again, they can't target any enemies here. So they'll have to do this in non-devastated regions versus no faction only. Okay, so they'll have to select one of these 2 regions to reveal 2 warbands and just take 2 resources for doing so. As far as I can tell, there's no priority for selecting between these 2, so they're just going to randomly select one. We'll make this one 1, 2, 3, we'll make that 4, 5, 6, and we'll roll a die. The roll is a 5. So that will be this area here. They will reveal 2 of their warbands and collect 2 resources for doing so. The Aedui would now like to add a free special ability. So following from raid, we see that they would like to trade, but there's some requirements. So Aedui battled, or Aedui resources 0 to 9, or Aedui plus Roman resources less than 15. Well, the Aedui resources are between 0 and 9. They're at 5. So that is satisfied. And Aedui are second eligible. No, they're first eligible. Or trade would add 3 or more resources. Well, the problem is that trade wouldn't add 3 or more resources. Trade only happens within supply lines. And right now the Aedui are only in 2 regions, one of which is controlled by the Arverni, who will never agree to supply. So the only possible place the Aedui could trade would be in their home region, where the Romans have control, but maybe the Romans would agree. They sometimes do agree to supply for the Aedui. But there's only 1 citadel there. And all the Aedui would be able to do is get 2 resources for that citadel using trade. So that's not enough to satisfy the second requirement. It wouldn't add 3 or more resources. Okay, so trade's not going to work for them. So if none, they'd rather suborn then. In 1 region or in each of 2 regions, if unshaded, convictolitavis. Convictolitavis. Okay. Okay, so they're going to try to suborn in 1 region. They'd first like to place an ally. Okay, so looking at suborn and how that works, they can do this in 1 region with a hidden Aedui warband. Okay, there's 2 such regions, so they could do it in 1 of those. It's going to cost them, though. They have to pay 2 resources per ally, 1 per other piece. Place and or remove up to 3 pieces there total. Any factions. At most, 1 piece may be an allied tribe, not a citadel. Place allied subdued only. Others must be warbands and or auxilia. Since they want to place an ally as their first priority, they're obviously going to select the Mandubii region, because there is a subdued ally there. No such thing in the Aedui region. Okay, so they'll select that region for Suborn. The first priority is to place an ally, so they will do that. It's going to cost them 2 resources to do that, the 2 they just picked up using raid. Okay, so that removes control, actually. Okay, so that is now no control. Okay, they could, let's see, we're placing and removing up to 3 pieces, so they're going to carry on. If none placed, remove enemy ally. They did place 1. Okay, so now they're going to place all Aedui warbands they're able to. Alright, well they can place 2, since it's a total of 3 pieces, so they'll put 2 more allies in there. That will cost them 1 for each, so they're down to 1 resource. So the Aedui take control of the Mandubii region now. And that's the end of their play of this event. So they got a free special ability. They become eligible after this card. So even though they played the event, they're not going to go to ineligible after this. So I like to show that just by putting that token to the left there. So it reminds me that they go back to the eligible factions. Okay, so now we'll see what the next eligible player wants to do. By the way, I should have mentioned this, but because Diviciacus is in play, the Aedui are playing by leader rules, which means that they can only do special activities where Diviciacus is or within 1 region. So they were able to do this because Diviciacus is within 1 region. Okay, so I didn't mention that, but that's an important rule to keep in mind. The next eligible faction is the Arverni, and they can do a full command and special activity here. So let's see what they want to do. So first priority, Vercingetorix or 10 plus Arverni warbands where Romans or Aedui have an ally Citadel Legion or 3 or greater than 3 pieces. No. I mean, Vercingetorix is down here in the Arverni home region. There's no enemies there. And there's no place where we have 10 or more Arverni warbands anywhere else on the map. Okay, so that's no. Arverni by sequence of play may use the event, no. So follow that. 0 to 8 Arverni warbands on the map. That is true. There's only 5 Arverni warbands on the map. Or rally would place 2 or more allies, Citadel, so 6 more pieces. Okay, so they want to rally. So wherever able to place a piece, starting with Citadels, then allies, then most warbands. So here are the command instructions for rally. It costs 1 resource per region, or 2 if devastated. In each region, if Arverni controller Vercingetorix, place 1 ally, or if Arverni leader, ally, or citadel, place warbands equal to their number plus 1, or if Arverni ally and city, replace with a citadel, or if the Arverni home region, place 1 warband. And Vercingetorix gets to place an ally or citadel and also warbands. Okay, so by the priorities here, they want to do a citadel first. Can't do that. There are no cities with Arverni allies in them right now. They've both been converted to citadels already. Okay, so next they'd like to place allies. They can't do that either because they need control or Vercingetorix. Okay, so Vercingetorix is here, but they've already allied with all of those, and they don't have control anywhere else. So they can't place any allies. Therefore, they're going to place the most warbands they can. Well, they can only place warbands where there's the leader. They can place warbands where there's the leader, ally, or citadel. Okay, leader, ally, or citadel, and they get to place that many plus 1. Okay, so they can choose this region here and place 5. The leader plus all these allies and citadels plus 1. So they'll place 5 here. So that costs them 1 resource to do that. And the other place they could place allies would be here in Mandubii. So allies plus citadels plus leader plus 1. So that would be 3 there. The Arverni take back control of the Mandubii region. That costs them another resource. The Arverni would now like to select a special activity. So following their flowchart, they'd like to devastate before battle, before or after march, after rally or raid. So we're after rally, of course. In each region, we're able to force removal of a legion or 2 auxilia, or at least as many Roman plus Aedui pieces total as Arverni. Well, this isn't really going to work for the Arverni because location, any Arverni-controlled regions within one region of Vercingetorix or with his successor. Well, there are 2 Arverni-controlled regions, Mandubii up here and their home region, but Mandubii is too far away from Vercingetorix. It's not within one region, so they can't select that area for devastate. They can only select their home region where there aren't any enemies. So by their priorities here, it wouldn't force removal of anything but themselves. So they don't want to do that. Alright, so they're going to use entreat instead. Okay, so they would like to replace enemy allies with Arverni first. Okay, so looking at entreat, they can do this in regions with hidden Arverni and within one region of Vercingetorix or with his successor. So there have to be hidden Arverni and has to be within one region of Vercingetorix. Okay, so again, that's only their home region. And what does entreat do? Replace either one warband or auxilia, or if Arverni control, one Gallic or German ally here with its Arverni counterpart. Okay, so again, there are no enemies here to target, so entreat won't do anything. Since they can't select entreat, we're told no special ability, which makes sense anyway because raid can only work with entreat or devastate. So since they won't do either one, no special ability here. Okay, but they did still use their command, so that's the end of this turn. The next card is Gallic Shouts. The Arverni would be up first, but they're not eligible right now. So the Belgic tribes will be first. So looking at the Belgae flowchart, Ambiorix or 4+ Belgic warbands where a non-German enemy has an ally citadel, legion, or 4 or more pieces. No, that's not true. Ambiorix is in Treveri, but there's no non-German enemy there. And the only place that has at least 4 warbands would be Nervii, but there's no way they could. Sorry, the Roman the Romans are the only excuse me, only non-German enemy there, and they don't have an ally citadel or legions. Okay, so they will not select this. So the next priority is Belgae first on upcoming but not on the current card. No, that's not true. They're not first on the upcoming card. They could play the event, yes. The event is ineffective or capability in the final year or no Belgae. Well, we'll have to look at the event now. So the event, Gallic Shouts, okay, it's not no Belgae. So we'll look at the shaded region. Rapid delay of messages. A Gallic faction executes one command and one limited command in either order, free, no battles. Okay, well that would definitely be effective. So they will, yeah, they'll want to do this. Okay, so they'll take the event. So the Belgic tribes are going to take this event, and they can do one command and then one limited command for free, but they can't do any battles. As far as I can tell, there are no priorities to decide whether they'll do the command first or the limited command first. Nothing I could find. Probably doesn't matter, really, in the grand scheme of things. But I think they'll probably just do the command first and then do a limited command. Okay. So, once again, we go down their flow chart to find out what they're going to select. They can't battle. I mean, they wouldn't battle anyway, but they can't battle because this this event doesn't allow it. Okay, so carrying on. Okay, so we say no to that. Rally would add Belgic ally citadel, 3+ Belgic warbands, or Belgic control. Well, they could at least add an ally here, an Aulerci. They could do that at least, so I think the answer is yes to that. They would add an ally, yeah. So rally wherever able to place a piece, replace a city ally with a citadel, then place all allies able, then place all warbands able. So looking at the rally action for the Belgic tribes, they can do this in any region without devastation. It would normally cost 1 per region or 2 if outside Belgica, but they get to do this for free. So in each region, if Belgic control, place a Belgic ally. Okay, that's what they want to do first. Well, actually no. The first thing they want to do is replace a city ally with a citadel. Right, and there are 2 places they could do this. Here in Carnutes, there's an ally in a city, and over here in Sequani, there is one. Oh, but I just realized they don't have any citadels left. They actually only have 1 ally left. Okay, well they can't do that then. Okay, never mind. So next they want to place allies. Alright, so they can place, if they have control, they can place an ally at a subdued tribe. Okay, well they do have control of both of those regions, and they do have space for an ally. Okay, so same 2 regions, but now they want to place their remaining ally in one of those 2. Okay, well, they're just going to have to select randomly between the 2. So they'll have to roll a die on that. We'll make this 1, 2, 3. We'll make that 4, 5, 6. The roll was a 3. So they will place their last remaining ally here. So now they're going to place all the warbands they can. They'd first like to add Belgic control. But I don't think that's actually going to do anything in this case. I don't think there's anywhere that they don't control where they could add enough pieces to do it. They could only add 1 here, that wouldn't be enough. They could only add 1 here, that wouldn't be enough. Okay, so they're not able to take any control. Alright, but they still want to add as many warbands as they can. So, wherever they have an ally or a citadel, they can place warbands equaling up to their number. Okay. Well, there are 7 different places that the Belgae could rally to place more warbands. They can't select this space because they already placed an ally there, but the other 7 spaces where they have allies or citadels could all be selected. So since there's 7, it's going to be hard to choose randomly using a 6-sided die. But our guidelines actually give us some guidelines, imagine that, on how to do this. In the rare case of more than 6 candidates, split them into multiple groups of 6 or less as evenly as possible. Roll to select a group, then roll within the group. Spare numbers calling for a full reroll. Alright, so to select among these 7, as far as I can tell, there's no priorities to select among these, so the Belgae are just going to select randomly. So I'm going to say a 1, 2, or 3 will be one of these regions within Belgica, a 4, 5, or 6 will be one of these regions outside of Belgica. They rolled a 6, so it'll be one of the regions outside of Belgica. So let's say Treveri is 1, Ubi is 2, Sequani is 3, and Bituriges is 4. And we'll just re-roll a 5 or 6. Okay, it's a 1, so Treveri will be the choice for the Belgic tribes. So the Belgae get to place 1 warband there for the 1 ally. And now they'd like to select another region. So now we have exactly 6. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a circle. It's a 6. That will be Bituriges, so 1 goes there. Now they've rolled a 2, so that will be the Morini region where they can place 2 warbands there. Their next roll is a 2, so that's 1, 2. Here in the Nervii region, they can place 2 warbands there. Next roll is a 6. Now there's only 3 choices, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is here. In Sequani, they place 1. Well, now it turns out I should have just done the math, because they have enough warbands that they could have just selected all these regions. So let's just cut to the chase then. All right, so they can place 1 there and 1 there. Okay, so they actually selected all those spaces. I didn't think to do the math. So they have 1 warband left. Wow, what what an amazing rally for the Belgic tribes here, and all of that was free with this card, and they're not even done because they still get to do a free limited command. So now the Belgae will try to find a limited command to do for free. Again, they can't battle during this, but anyway, this is not true. So no, no, okay, no. Rally would add a Belgic ally, no. Citadel, no. 3 or more Belgic warbands, no. Or Belgic control, no. Okay, because they've already spent all that. Okay, the Belgae have 0 to 3 resources and a roll of 1 to 4. No, they have 21 resources, so no. All right, they'd like to march. First to add control in up to 2 regions. So here's the march command for the Belgae. Any region with Belgic warbands or leader. They don't have to pay for this. Move the warband / leader as desired to adjacent regions and or flip them to hidden or remove scouted. If moving in or out of Britannia, no special ability. Okay, well again, this is a limited command, so they're only going to be able to select 1 region to do this. And they select regions to move from here. Okay, so origin regions. So they're only going to be able to move from 1 region into another region. Okay, so looking at the priorities, they'd like to add control up to 2 regions. In Belgica, with most warbands able, except 1 warband per origin while losing no Belgic control. Well, there's only 1 region in Belgica that's not under Belgic control right now, and that's Atrebates region. So they would like to take control of that. They would have to move in, let's see, 6, 7 pieces in order to do that. Is that right? 3, 7, 8, 9. They'd need 10. Yeah, they'd have to move in 7 pieces. Okay, there's no way they could move them from there, but they could move them from here. Yeah, they could, along with the leader. They could do that. Okay, so that seems like what they're going to do. Use their free limited command to move out of Treveri into Atrebates. So the Belgae have now moved 7 warbands out of Treveri into Atrebates and have taken back control of that space. Now this is a limited command, so they can only choose Treveri to do this. However, there is another priority here for moving the leader, who is in Treveri. So with the leader alone to 1 region above if needed to join most Belgic pieces able, or to another region to end leader where greater than 3 Belgic warbands. Okay, so I think that means that the leader is going to go along for the ride and end up in Atrebates. So that was one heck of a great turn for the Belgic tribes. They seem to be basically running away with the game at this point. Looks like the Romans are going to have to do something soon to quell the Belgic forces. So we'll see what happens. But next up here is actually the Aedui. So we'll see what they want to do. So the Aedui now could do a full command and special activity. Let's see what they want to do. Aedui first on upcoming but not current card. No, that's not true. They can use the event? No. Battle would force loss on enemy leader, ally, citadel, or legion. No, once again, the Aedui are not in a position to make any dents with battle. So no. 0 to 4 Aedui warbands on the map. No, there's a lot more than that. There's 9. Or Rally would place a Citadel ally or 3 or more pieces. No, that's not true either. They can't place an ally or Citadel anywhere. And Rally would really only put 1 piece in each of the 2 areas where they are. So, no. It wouldn't place at least 3 pieces. So, no. Do we have 0 to 3 resources and roll a 1 to 4? Well, they have only 1 resource. So they had to roll. Excuse me. They had to roll on that. And they rolled a 4. So the answer is yes. So they're going to raid. If they would gain 2 or more resources total. Well, I think they would. They've got several underground warbands here. So I think they can get 1 here for that 1 underground warband and 2 up there. Because raid says reveal 1 to 2 hidden Aedui per region for each either add 1 resource or take 1 resource from a faction there that has no citadel or fort. Well, the factions that share those spaces with the Aedui have either a citadel or a fort, so not going to be able to steal using raid. So not going to be against a player or non-Romans. Okay, so in non-devastated regions versus no faction. Okay, so they're going to raid in order to just gain some resources. So they've gained 3 resources for doing that. Now they would like to use a special ability. So we follow over to trade. So once again we have conditions that need to be met. Aedui battled, or Aedui resources 0 to 9, or Aedui plus Roman resources less than 15. Well, the Aedui resources are at 4 right now, so that's satisfied. And Aedui are second eligible. That is true. They are second eligible right now because they're going second. Or trade would add 3 or more resources. Well, anyway, they are second eligible. Alright, trade for all resources possible. Players must now agree or not. Non-player Romans agree. So trade says this can be done in a region within supply lines. And factions agree to supply line or not. Only the Romans are going to agree to that. In supply lines, add +1 Aedui resource, +2 if Romans agreed. For each Aedui ally in Citadel, each subdued tribe under Aedui control, and if Romans agreed, each Roman ally under Aedui control. Well, the only place that's going to be within supply, because the Romans agreed, would be the Aedui home region here, which is in supply through Provincia back to Cisalpina. Okay, so they're going to pick up 2 resources for that 1 citadel. Okay, that's the end of that card. The next card is Okti, and the Romans finally get a chance because they are first eligible. So looking at the Romans flowchart now, first thing is Caesar or Legion with enemy ally, citadel, legion, or control, or where enemy battle or rampage now would force loss on Legion or Caesar. The answer is yes. We do have some legions now in Belgica with some enemy pieces there. Caesar is still down here in Provincia with no enemies, so it's a no to Caesar, but it's a yes to legions. There is an ally there, and Belgic control there. So yes. Okay, so the Romans would like to battle in Belgica. So where Roman losses will be less than half enemies and no loss on Caesar. Well, we have to calculate all that. So we have to figure out whether the Roman losses will be less than half the enemy losses in that region. So here are the instructions for battle. Cost 2 resources per region. And you can choose any region where they have Romans and enemies. It looks rather complicated, but and it is somewhat involved and complicated. But we do have this battle procedure that shows it in a flowchart format. It's a little easier to follow. So anyway, what we need to do, well, the way I do this anyway, if I'm just trying to figure out what the losses are going to be, is just tally up. I mean, because we're assuming that there's going to be no retreat. We're assuming several things here. If we're just checking how this would go if they were to battle. So Caesar's not here. So when we calculate losses, the defenders here would be the Belgians. We have to figure out how many pieces they would end up removing. How many losses they would take. So they're not defending versus Caesar or Ambiorix, so no. So enemy legions would count as 1. So all the legions there are worth 1 each, and there aren't any warbands. The leader would count as 1. The leader's not there. And auxilia count as half. So each of these legions is 1. Each auxilia is half. That's 5. So the Belgic tribes would have to lose 5. Okay, so they would have to absorb 5 losses. And we presume that they're going to have to remove pieces to cover those losses. There are ways potentially where they might not, but at this stage we're just presuming a simplified version of the battle. Okay, so that means they have 4 warbands left. So in the counterattack phase, which is here, we do the same thing, but now the other direction. This is a little confusing because it says defending versus Caesar or Ambiorix. So you might think that they're defending against Ambiorix there, but no. That's only if Ambiorix initiates the battle. And same thing with Caesar. Okay, so actually this is no. So their warbands count for half and the leader counts for 1. So that would be 3 losses on the Romans. So it would be 5 losses to the Belgians and 3 losses to the Romans. Well, that isn't less than half, as it says here. It will be less than half of the enemies. No, it would be more than half. So they're not going to battle. Since the Romans are not going to battle, they'll follow down to the next priority, which is to march. With leader, most legions able, and at least 1 auxilia, plus most auxilia able without losing Roman or no control. Take only 1 harassment loss per group, none on legion or lone moving piece. So the Romans are first going to want to move from up to 3 regions. Okay, first meeting the upper left condition. So that means this condition up here, which is what led us to consider battle in the first place. So if they're not going to battle in that region, they want to march out of that region. That makes sense. So what the Romans are saying here is the Belgians are a little too strong here, so let's look for a softer target elsewhere. Okay, so they're going to march out of there. Well, we want to see who else is going to march as well. So up to 3 regions. Secondly, 1 also meeting the upper left condition. So here again. But not destination of first origin. Okay, so if there's any other region that also meets the condition for battle, then they would want to move out of there too. That's not true. There are no other regions like that. So the next priority is one where there's no enemy, ally, or citadel. Well, considering all the other places where the Romans are, 2 places have enemy, allies, or citadels. So here in the Aedui region, you see the citadel for the Aedui. Up here in the Nervii region, there's some allies. So there's only 2 other places left. That's Provincia, all these auxilia here with Caesar, and the legions and auxilia up there in Britannia, where there are no enemies in either of those positions. So those will be the 3 selected regions that they're going to march from. Okay, I take that back. They're actually not going to march out of Britannia. They are going to march, though, with Caesar. And the reason is because this actually says 1 where no enemy, ally, or citadel. So they didn't choose the second one because there wasn't another region that satisfied this requirement. And this is up to 3 regions. So it's this one, the one meeting upper left condition, and this one where there's no enemy, ally, citadel. To make that clearer, I went to the rule book here So this is under battle or march under threat. So this is the battle stuff. They didn't do any of that, so they're marching under threat. Okay, and then it says, here's the final bullet point. They will also march out of one region, first with their leader, then with the most legions not yet marching, that is free of enemy allies and citadels. Okay, so that's giving us a little more information about this bullet point. Well, there's no enemy ally or citadel, and they choose where the leader is first. Okay, so that will be here in Provincia. So now we have to work out where they're going to march. So we know who's marching, now we have to know where. 2 enemy allies or citadels in 2 regions, or to only 1 region if 0 to 6 legions on map and able. No, they have more than 6. They have 8 legions on the map, so they'll go to 2 regions. If 2 regions, to end with more Romans of each type in first region than in second region, as able. Okay. So, first they're going to prioritize enemies with 0+ victory margin. Well, that's easy. That's definitely the Belgians. Okay, so they're going to prioritize moving in on the Belgians. But again, they're looking for a softer target than, than all these warbands with ambiorix here. Okay, so they're selecting the Belgic tribes to move in on one of their territories. Now we have some priorities here. This is within 1 to 4, so within all of these 4, where losses to enemy battle would be fewest. So that means they want to march to a location where if the enemy were to battle them immediately, they would take the fewest losses. So for example, they wouldn't want to move to Morini up here, because there's 3 warbands there, so they could immediately attack and cause some losses. Similarly, they wouldn't want to move up here to Nervii, because again, those warbands could attack them immediately. So they'd rather move to some place like Treveri or Sequani or Bituriges or Carnutes over here. Well, there's just not enough warbands to do them any damage immediately. And they're all equal as far as that goes. Some of these have a single warband there, but a single warband can only do half a loss, so that just gets rounded down to 0. So there's no way any battle could result from any of those 4 regions to cause any losses. So those 4 regions seem to be the priorities here. Okay, the next priority is to the most such allies and citadels. Well, that clinches it for the first group. I mean, the region has the most allies or citadels is Carnutes over here, which has 2. So the first thing they're going to do is move to that region. And the question is, which one are they going to move? Well, it's a bit complicated. And I'm not exactly sure I have this right, but it does say here, if 2 regions, to end with more Romans of each type in first region than in second region, as able. And I found that a bit mysterious. More Romans of each type. It's a little strange. So, to the rulebook. And we have this bullet point here. If marching to 2 regions, move forces so as to end with more mobile Romans by each type, leader, legion, and auxilia, in the first destination region than in the second destination, to the degree possible. So, I think what that means is you want a diversity of types. You want a leader, a legion, and an auxilia in the first destination. Well, you want a more variety of types in the first destination than in the second. I think that's the idea. So you'd like to have a leader, an auxilia, and a legion, at least, in the first region. And then in the second region, you can have fewer than that. I think that's what this means. It's not exactly clear. But that's how I read by each type. Like, you want the greatest number of types in the first, greater number of types in the first region than in the second region. So with that in mind, I think the Romans are going to try to get Caesar up here to Carnutes. They're going to try to get at least one legion over there, and they're going to try to get at least one auxilia over there. That's the way I'm reading it. They want a diversity of types there. Okay, so now we got to think about harassment. Now Caesar, looking at the march command here, it says move above pieces up to 2 adjacent regions, 3 with Caesar. Okay, so Caesar can move up to 3 regions. So Caesar could get there through this path right here, through Aedui, Bituriges, and then Carnutes, like that. So Caesar could do it, and whoever's with Caesar. Okay. Stop at devastated across the Rhenus or in or out of Britannia. If through a region Gauls may, Germans do, cause losses, remove 1 auxilia, or on a 1 to 3 legion or leader per 3 hidden war bands, round down by faction. Auxilia to hidden, if in out of Britannia, no special ability. So that's the harassment stuff. So there wouldn't be a problem here with this move because there's no space with at least 3 underground war bands. So Caesar could move right up there without any harassment. So I think that's definitely going to happen. The question is where where will the other pieces move and how will that be divided? Okay, I've now changed my opinion on this. It seemed to me that the way the bot would work is that the bot would select origins and then select destinations, and then it would be a matter of just sending the pieces in whichever way it needed to satisfy the conditions. But now that I'm thinking about it and remembering how the selection worked, I'm thinking that's probably not right. So going back to when we selected which pieces would move, it said here, first the Romans will march out of 1 region that met the battle or march under threat condition, and then they will march out of a second such region, but only if that second region will not be the destination of the Roman group departing the first origin region above. So that makes it sound like each group moves as a unit, and there is no send some this way, send some that way. That each group just simply moves to another destination, and that's it. So they move as a group. That's the way I'm seeing that. Otherwise, this wouldn't make any sense. It will be the destination of the Roman group departing the first origin region above. So if the group departing this has, if there's such a thing as the destination they're going to, that implies that it's a single destination, right? So anyway, I'm thinking now that that's the way this works. And it might be just kind of a simplifying thing with the bots. I can see how it could get quite complicated if you let them scatter to different destinations. Okay, so I think they're supposed to move as a unit. Now, we have a problem because these are equally diverse in terms of types. There's a legion and auxilia there, there's leader and auxilia here. So they each have 2 types. So figuring out what's the first destination, what's the second destination, I guess won't matter in this case. So we're going to choose randomly which one is going to go here. Caesar can definitely get there without any harassment, and this group can get there without any harassment as well. So they rolled a 2. That will be this group right here. They're going to move over here to Carnutes. So the Romans have taken control of Carnutes. Now they have to figure out where they're going to move Caesar and these auxilia. There are 3 possibilities. Each of them seem equally as good as far as I can tell from the priorities. So, oh, that's not true. They don't want to go here because they want to end in supply if they can. So these 2 would be in supply still. Okay, so they're not going to choose Treveri. They would be out of supply if they did that. Okay, so either Sequani or Bituriges. Okay, they rolled a 4. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're going to move to Sequani. Okay, so the Romans paid another 2 resources for that. And that's the end of their marching. Now they're going to look for a special activity. So following on their flowchart, we get to scout during march. They didn't need that. Sometimes they use that in order to clear the road from harassment. But they didn't need that in this case. So none. Okay, so they're going to build now. And they'd like to place all forts able at non-Aedui warbands. So build says they can do this at a Roman ally or supply line with Romans, and within one of Caesar or with his successor. So Sequani would count. They're within supply line. Cisalpina's right here, and there are Romans there. So that would count. Yeah, and they're with Caesar, so that works. It would cost 2 to place a fort or an ally, or remove an ally. In each region, place a fort and/or, once Roman control, and if not selected for siege, place 1 Roman or remove 1 non-Roman ally. Okay, so they can definitely do that. So they're going to place a fort, and then subdue all allies. Okay. Okay, so the Romans placed a fort here and subdued that Belgic ally that was there. So that cost them 4 resources. They're now down to 4 total resources. They're starting to take a bite out of the Belgic victory conditions. They're now down to 16, so they're barely over their margin now because they took away some control and got rid of an ally. Okay, that is the end of the Romans' turn. It's now the Arverni turn, so let's see what they want to do. Ambiorix, or 10 or more Arverni warbands where Romans or Aedui have an ally citadel legion or greater than 3 pieces. No, Vercingetorix is still hanging out down here where there are no enemies. There's nowhere else where there's 10 or more warbands. Okay, Arverni by sequence of play may use the event. Yes, they can. Event ineffective, capability in final year, or no Arverni. Well, let's take a look. Well, it doesn't have the no Arverni symbol. It does have those laurels, which means there are special instructions for this card. But it says, Gallic vassals head home. Roll a die and remove either 3 or that number of exilia from anywhere. Well, that would definitely be effective. It would remove some exilia. So, it's effective. It's not a capability. I don't see the no Arverni, so yes. Okay, they'll roll a 1 to 4. See if they'll take it. They rolled a 4. Okay, so they are going to try to take it. So we're going to have to look at the special instructions for this card. Okay, here are the special instructions. Okti. Select auxilia first to leave legions without auxilia in as many regions as possible. Okay. So the Arverni rolled a die again. They rolled a 4 again. So they're going to remove 4 auxilia from the map. Now, the special instructions said, leave legions without auxilia in as many regions as possible. Well, the places that have legions are here, in Carnutes, where there are 3, and up here in Britannia, where there are 5. So they could definitely leave both without any auxilia. They could remove all 4 from here, or they could remove 2 there and then 2 from somewhere else. So they rolled on this randomly. They rolled a 3, so it was 1, 2, 3 up there and 4, 5, 6 here. So it's going to remove these 2 to eliminate the auxilia support from Britannia. And then they're going to remove another 2, and I think they're just going to do that randomly from the other positions. Okay, so I just rolled to select randomly. They ended up taking 1 auxilia from Nervii and the other from Carnutes. Okay, that's it. They took the event, so that's the end of their turn. Okay, I'm going to end this video here. We only managed to get through 3 cards of this campaign, but I feel like that took a while. There's a lot of things to figure out. Okay, anyway, I'm going to leave it right here for this video, and we'll continue this in future videos. I hope to see you then. Till then.